Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Stockradar Stocks on the Move for another week. Today is date the 23rd of October 2025. My name is Richard Lee and I manage the stockradar.com.au website for you. Okay, whacked. Well, we make sure we focus on our weekly process. It's about not letting the market control us, but taking control ourselves. So we stick to our weekly strategy. Gold had a bit of a pullback, as we know, yesterday, on some high volumes, so we've got to be wary of it. As I said before, I'll be looking at all my stops at the end of the week to see where we're at, not responding to the daily data as normal. So gold gives us a shake, and many stocks like the insurers are looking weak. It's an interesting market. There's some rallies, some not so good. But we've still got a fairly small, we've got about 67, 78 stocks out of 160. So we've still got a small group of stocks, smallish. And we're also seeing, apart from yesterday with the gold, we're also seeing a swing back towards the bigger miners at the moment, which is an interesting sort of push after our big run on some of our smaller miners. So we'll have a look at all that today. Trading mind power is what I'm talking about. Talked about a bit about overconfidence and complacency last week. We've got to be very careful when markets are just going one way, that it's very easy to just sit there and let things happen. We've always got to be on the ball, making sure we know what's doing with our stocks and making sure we're monitoring them and responding appropriately to any moves. Okay, so let's firstly get into the trend intensity ratings this week. Okay, let's go and find them. Okay, here we go. Okay, so a bit of a mixed bunch. We've got Samphire, Northern Star, Pilbara Minerals, Iluka, RL at the top there. Bit of a mixed bunch there again. And we've got Dicker Data, which is doing very well. You can see over there on the chart there. ALQ, Stockland, which is making new highs, interesting stock. ANZ doing really well. And BHP also showing a bit more strength again. So, again, a little bit of a shift in some of the things that are happening at the moment. As I said before, the insurers are starting to look a bit weak after a powerful run. So we've always got to be mindful of where we are and what we're doing, and so not getting complacent with what we do. Okay, the stock pick count is actually down 2 this week. We had 2 in and 4 out, okay? So we've got 2 new ones, quite exciting new ones actually, and 4 out. Take some profits on a couple of there. So 2 of 67 picks from 157 stocks that we cover at the moment. Okay, so that's a stock pick count. Trend intensity ratings and portfolios are still full at the moment. We'll see what happens at the end of the week with any come out there. Overseas markets, well, we're still, gold came down in some big volume yesterday, so we've got to watch that. I know it held a bit last night. Newmont still up over 50% since its rally, even despite having come back a bit yesterday. So again, we're not about tops and bottoms. We're about making a return on our money and watching where our stops are. That's the most important thing. We wait until the end of the week to check any of those stocks like Newmont. Okay, so let's get into the overseas markets and see what we can see here at the moment. Okay, so first we've got Dow Jones, again looking okay. Trend is still up. No real concern. We had a big down week a couple of weeks ago, but we're back up again, challenging the highs there. The S&P again, because there's not a huge amount to talk about here. The way these stocks are going, the way these indices are going. The S&P is still trending up, no problem there. And same with the Nasdaq. Okay, so we've got to be careful of the polarization happening around some of these huge stocks, the Nvidias and the Alphabets and the Facebooks and things like that. That's a real concern, so we've got to be careful about that. But for the moment, these indices are going okay. We don't trade them, we trade stocks. But this is the background that we operate in. So still the sentiment basis there, still okay there. On our market, again, we're up around our highs at the moment, looking pretty good. The biggest ones really are the banks at the moment, and maybe the bigger miners starting to help us give us a bit of a push there. But really has been the story of the banks for quite some time, strangely enough. Okay, so that's the ASX 200. You can see the momentum index in the ASX 200 is still very high, and when it goes flat like this, it just means, and it stays high, it just means the uptrend has a steady pace. It's not accelerating, it's not decelerating, it's still going up. Okay, so they're looking okay, the ASX 200 at the moment. Again, polarization around a few stocks there, but that's okay. We know that. Okay, gold, as we can see here, well, in the scheme of things, not a huge fall, quite large by 1 day falls, but it's still, and also there's quite a bit of volume there. If I look at this on a daily basis, quite a bit of volume, so we'll see where this finishes at the end of the week there, but obviously some profit taking after this huge run there. We saw the Qs outside ABC. We've seen different things telling us there's a bit of froth in the market, which we talked about over the last couple of weeks. So we just got to be careful with some of those gold stocks because they can be very volatile, as we know. Okay, so we'll check those at the end of the week. See where we are. So gold, bit of profit taking happening there. On the other ones there, really copper's really not doing a lot. It's challenging the highs here a bit. You know, we've got some resistance up around here. It's moved higher. The volume has been okay without being exceptional. Momentum is just above neutral, so there's nothing really exciting about it. Copper really is a long-term picture, I think, but for the moment it's fairly stable here. We've got some resistance up around here, fairly clear resistance at the moment, so it's not doing a hell of a lot. And also the crude market, again, I think it might have rallied last night, but really it rallied off a low point, which is the actual lows it's been for quite some time, down here around $60. So not a great deal there. Still plenty of selling there. Momentum's flattened down there, so the steady pace of a downtrend is still in existence there for Brent crude. Okay, so we've gone through all those again. Okay, so now we want to get some stocks. Now, go through a few interesting stocks this week. This one, Transurban, which is one that's it's just been stuck in a trading range for many, many years, and we've been looking for this to break out at some stage, which it probably will. But if we go back and have a look at this long-term picture, you can see the huge trading range it's been in since about 2020. Now we're starting to get a little bit of a push here again. We've seen some constructive things happen over the last year or so. It's still developing in the right direction. It's probably the highest price it's been for probably a couple of years at the moment. But we've got this little breakout here. This little resistance level here has been broken. It didn't really continue on because we're still in this big trading range here with the highs up around $15. But it is making headway here. We've got some higher lows here. We've also got some volume starting to come through here. So there's a few red spots, but they're mainly green spots, and we're still seeing the market go higher. So Transurban's looking interesting, and the momentum index is positive. It is promising, but really the key really is the challenge. I think it's around $15, $15.30. Trend intensity rating is +1, so mildly positive on Transurban. It's really got to break out of this range before we get really encouraged. So, but the signs are there. You know, it's got through here. Step 1, step 2 needs to be taken. If step 2 is taken, then we may well get a decent rally back in Transurban after a long period of consolidation. So that's probably one to watch for us at the moment. Some of the other stocks that have been going quite well for us. We try and keep our what's the word I'm looking for? Just keep steady and keep our perspective on what we're trying to do, and never forget that there are always stocks moving higher. And APO really, it's had a big downtrend. We saw a big switch zone down here where it broke through the moving average and the downtrend line. Then we got confirmation of the trend reversal. And it's now just steadily climbing and looking pretty good. And if we look at the bigger picture, we've got some great volumes through here, a lot of green bars through here. Again, a steady acceleration, no real exponential thing, no real flattening off. It's just been going steady and making good gains. So APA trend intensity rating +9, still looking good. It's just holding its trend very nicely, which is what we like after we get a breakout there. So that's important. Tabcorp's another interesting one. It's been dormant for a long time, then all of a sudden it came to life back here. We've got a little trigger here back here in June of this year, and it's now actually up about 35%, believe it or not, since we entered it. It's now gone from about 71 cents to 106 at the moment, and it's still looking okay. I mean, the volumes are good, and they're picking up again. Momentum turned positive after being so sort of sluggish for such a long time. So Tabcorp again, surprise, it moved higher, and we've got a big jump here, and it's still continuing higher there. So there's good demand for this stock in that betting area. Okay, now I talked about the banks before, and through all the muckraking of ANZ, it is making new highs and has been going higher and higher. What we're interested in is the money flows, and that's what we always watch. We see price gains, we see volume. It gives us an idea, and especially since we saw these lows down here around $27, this stock really has rocketed. It's now $37, and this is the old high here again. So we're in this situation where the banks are all testing their highs at the moment, and we know what CBA has done. It's gone through, but ANZ, NAB and Westpac are all testing their highs. They're in very interesting spots at the moment. And ANZ, as I said, the volume's good, momentum's good, price is good. So, this is starting to edge through these highs here. So very interesting. Trend intensity rating is +10. Hold on to your hats, set your stop, and make sure you're in this one because it looks interesting. Okay, so that's the banks, and they've been a fairly good support to our market. So no doubt, it always happens in our market. They take up a big percentage of it, and they do make a difference. Okay, other stocks, again, try not to get too involved in the fantastic things that are going on around us in the metals and the gold and things like that. But things like Challenger have just quietly gone about their business. It broke out of a big range here a while ago, which we can see there. Let's see if I can get the name in there somewhere. There it is, Challenger. Okay, that sort of makes it pretty small. That's because if we go back to here, we can see what's happened. The hot lows down here, we went to this big trading range, and now we saw the breakout. And since the breakout, if we just zoom in that area there, we can just see very, very steady rise. We've seen some great, some great volume has been pushing through here as well, pushing through this rise. Momentum's good. Again, momentum is high and steady and flat. We're meaning the trend is steady, which is great. So for Challenger, really, R1 has got to be the next major resistance level. It's heading towards that area. It's doing very well. The volumes are good. Trend intensity rating is +10. So again, a nice trend just to follow and raise your stop. Simple as that. Like APA, there's quite a lot of stocks doing this. So we don't need to be too worried about the volatile ones. We can just take these steady trends and watch our returns grow. I'm going to have a look at one gold stock, which is Newmont. It's been an interesting, very, very interesting performer since early this year. It's had massive gains. Let's just get this back to there. And we can see here yesterday we saw this big drop. So it's come off from 150, 130. So it's a big drop off the highs, but we're not about tops and bottoms. We're about jumping on trends when they turn up and jumping off trends when they turn down. So we've got to evaluate this situation at the end of the week, see where it is in regard to our stop. It is very near our stop. But if you want to see it, you have to go and take a trial and have a look at Stockradar. But the trend intensity rating was 10. That was last week. It's come off a bit there. Now we've got the volumes through here. Momentum is good. But really what the most important thing is now is the stop loss, because that's where we define how much money we make and lose. And at the moment, we've got a lot of money. In fact, about 50% increase in the share price since it broke up. So we've got a lot of money to protect there. So we've got to be very careful and mindful of that. But it's not a difficult thing to do. If the stock goes off, we just get out and we move on. Who knows what's going to happen with gold? It may come right all the way back down. It may continue high. I don't really know, and I don't really care, to tell the truth, because I just make sure that I'm doing what I do, and I know exactly what I'm going to do, which is if my stop is hit, I will get out and I will stand aside and wait for the next signal, and that's how I work. Okay, so that's Newmont, and you can do that with all the gold stocks, whether it be Northern Star, Evolution, or even the smaller ones, Capricorn Minerals, things like that, Proesis, whatever. All the same situation. No, nothing changed. I don't operate any differently, the same way all the time. Okay, the other stock we have looked at over the last few weeks, AGL. Again, not a lot of change on this stock. It's still probably developing the way we probably want to see it. Trend intensity rating is still -7, so it hasn't really got off that bottom yet. But we've now got a rally to a certain point here. We're getting a little pullback here. It's not really qualifying for a trend reversal level yet. We need some more pullback here to validate that a bit. But everything is still constructive here. The price pattern off the low, the volume patterns are good. The big despairing sell-off here, a bit of demand here, and a bit of flattening off of the momentum index there. So nothing really is all that positive yet. Just some early signs still. So we just keep monitoring that one. Okay, so we're going to go through a couple of other quick stocks that have been looking pretty good for us since we entered them. Pilbara Minerals is one which has done really well, in fact, since it started off. We've got a nice little trend reversal down here which wasn't qualified, so we raise our stop level to back up here, and we can see down here we've got this switch zone type area where we've got good evidence of a break of the trend line, a break of the moving average, and a break of the resistance level here, trend reversal level, and then we've also got very, very nice volume demand appearing. So this is not a reading the tea leaves thing. This is just fact. This is just money flows, which is what we follow and what we want to see. And we can also see the good thing about here, price momentum has now turned positive. So we've got that alignment of the stars, which you always like. We've got volume, momentum, a break of the average, and also a break of resistance level, all telling us trend intensity rating is +10. The stock has a qualified uptrend, and the next resistance level is up around $3.50. Okay, and so we just raise our stop with this one and watch it develop further. Downer EDI has been going on quite nicely for quite a while. Since our new high back here in May. It's steadily risen from about $5.70 to now be $7.60, so almost $2 there. So again, it's a situation where we're just raising our stops here. The volumes are all good, momentum's all good, trend intensity rating is +8. It's just a little bit of a steady off here, so it's not entirely positive, but still making gains, and that's the most important thing, allowing us to keep raising our stop. And if you see on a trading centre, you'll see each week what I do with my stop. If the price goes up, inevitably I will raise it. And you just see how it develops, how the trends develop, and how the trades develop on the trading centre there. So Dana EDI has been a good one. $2 up in the pocket there. Ticker data, which we saw at the start there, it's also been a very, very good performer. Again, a very, very simple picture really here, because if we just look at this break here, I'll just put up this volume here so we can see a bit more what's going on here. Okay, not quite that high. Okay, so we can just see here we've got a trend reversal here. We've got a big support level here across $8, which was fantastic for ticker data. It moved through the switch zone, the moving average, the downtrend line, and then we get the resistance level here, which is the trend reversal level. And then we get the volume here sparked to life as it breaks through there and continues on very strongly there, and momentum turns positive. So again, it's a stock that's looking good. It's making good gains despite everything else that's going on around us at the moment. Trend intensity rating is 10. Next resistance level is at $12.50. Okay, so that's ticker data, which is also another one looking good. Just a nice steady trend. Hasn't had a pullback since we entered this stock when it rose above $9. Okay. Another one which is Hub, another one which has broken higher again and performed pretty well since it broke higher. We've got the volume, we've got the momentum giving us a signal there. It's risen. It could be to go flat for a while, and it almost broke down here. It didn't quite set our stop loss off. And then now back and making new highs again. So, and the volume's been good, and momentum stayed positive throughout this pattern, which is good. So again, Hub 24. These platforms are doing very well. Premium, Hub 24 are all looking quite nice at the moment. So trend intensity rating is 10. Hub 24 is making new highs this week. Okay, we'll probably raise our stop at the end of the week. And one little stock that I looked at from a member a couple of weeks ago, ASX Systems. Just want to sort of update you on this one. We had that quite large trading range that had been in for quite some time, a couple of years, but then we saw some positive signs develop here. Really nothing much here, but until we get this high low here of support, which is a good sign, then we got the break of this high here, then we moved higher, and then the key was this area here. Again, we're building our picture here without having to take a trade at this stage. It's not until we break some new highs, which was just above 650. It's now at 70 at the moment, and we can see here we've got the clear volume, momentum, all very powerful, signaling this is probably going to move higher again. So again, protect with your stop, but ASX Systems is looking pretty comfortable in its new trend, and hopefully it will continue higher for you with a bit of luck. Okay, so that's the stocks I want to go through for today. Nothing really to worry about. A lot of my stocks, they're all doing pretty well, pretty nicely. Good trend intensities, good trends. We keep raising the stops, and that's what the name of the game is all about. Okay, so I cover a lot of stocks. You don't need to cover as many stocks. Shrink your database. Just cover those stocks in your database and keep your portfolios nice and tight. And don't have too many of them in there, because sometimes you start to forget about them and think, oh, here we go right one day, and then you forget about that sort of stuff. So you always got to keep focused on every trade you've got and monitor every trade and every stop loss, and just keep on the ball. Okay, so now I just want to go through a couple of slides for you, just some really simple slides today. It's really just about a couple of things that I think the three probably big no's in trading. One is overconfidence, the second is using emotions to trade, and the third is biases that we have, information bias, complacency bias, all sorts of anchor bias, all sorts of different biases, okay? So, they're all things that we don't want to do. We don't want to get overconfident, complacent. We don't want to trade emotion, and we don't want to use biases. So just a little tip on how to get around those things. Firstly, overconfidence. Be humble. Always be humble. You may win, you may lose, okay? So you're just going to make sure you're prepared for either occasion and take them. And don't get too overconfident about any one trade that you're taking, no matter how good it looks, because often we get the trade which is a no-brainer for sure. It's going to make money, and it doesn't, and then you get stuck with a position that you don't want to be stuck with. Okay, so be humble and make sure you're aware that you may win and you may lose in any trade, because there are losers, and I take lots of losses, okay? No doubt about it. Okay, for the emotions, you just really need to be disciplined, okay? Be disciplined and follow your trade plan steps. Blinkers on, forget what's going on in the rest of the world. All you want to focus is on those 4 or 5 things that matter to you. And I'm going to talk about this in the newsletter next week, about focusing on the main things that matter, and not getting too full of lots of information and lots of data deluges that we all have at the moment. And it's hard sometimes to focus on what we need to, but we really need to. So be disciplined with your trade plan and follow the trade plan steps that you have, and they will see you through. Okay, and then the biases. Well, we all have biases, and for lots of reasons. I mean, anchor bias is one of the tricky ones that I often have. I think, God, I lost last time, I'm going to win this time. I've got to forget about that sort of stuff and just say, move on, and this is a new trade, this is a new world. So biases, know what your biases are, know things that you do wrong, and whether you need too much information or you're making decisions based on different things. There's lots of different biases that we have. So make sure you know yours and eradicate them, get rid of them, and by getting rid of them, we will trade a lot more successfully. And I think really the most important thing is the most important thing is eradicating them. And so here's a list. Well, here's a list. If you go to my blog and you type in biases, I think on the second article you get this huge list of about 10 or 15 different biases that we all have, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate to some of those biases that we have when we trade. And it's a bit low. It's partly emotional, and it's part of thinking. It's part of overthinking things. We've really got to get rid of those things and be very, very clear on the steps we take, and be very, very robotic-like when we do our trading. Okay, so they're just three things that I think that can be pretty common problems when we're trading, and we need to eradicate them. Okay, so there's my disclaimer, and this is my trading mind power. So it is all about the mind, using our mind to trade, using our mind to keep things out, being focused, and being fairly simple in what we do. Okay, so remember to keep your perspective and let your trade plan be your guide. Mind power is key in all these sorts of things. Okay. Alrighty, well, that's all I got for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll be back next week with some more things. Who knows what gold's going to do. I'm looking at the big miners. They're looking quite exciting to me. Some of the other stocks, I say, like the insurers, are starting to come off. So there's some rotations going, which is always happening with markets. Some stocks coming down, some stocks coming in. We don't have to worry about FOMO because we don't really, if we miss one, there'll always be another one. All these sorts of things that we need to control. So make sure you control yourself and don't let the market control you. Okay, so watch your trends, heed your stops, keep it simple, have fun, stay safe, and I will see you all next week. Thanks very much.